Are you looking for an experience that will grow your teenagers' faith, increase their leadership skills, and teach them the discernment to engage with the world all around them, all while taking them on the adventure of a lifetime? I mean, who isn't looking for that? If your teenager loves fun, adventure, and wants to grow in their faith and leadership this summer, then send them to Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. Excel's Summer Leadership Camp is a 12-day experience for passionate young leaders looking to discover God's truth, to discern wisely, and live wholeheartedly. Your teenager will embark on a transformative journey in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where they'll build lasting friendships in the context of community, embark on thrilling adventures like camping, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, and they will receive expert training and certifications in categories like CPR and wilderness first aid. Each aspect of the camp is woven together to help them learn to discover truth, to discern wisely, and take godly action in the context of real-life situations. To learn more or begin an application, go to theexcelcamp.org. That's theexcelcamp.org. Hurry, because summer is just around the corner.
Welcome to the Reclamation Podcast, where our goal is to help busy people reclaim good practices for faith and life. Here's your host, Tony Meltenberger.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Tony coming to you with a special bonus episode of the podcast. In this episode, I'm actually the one getting grilled. A friend of mine, Milton Herring, who produces a podcast called Maximizing Moment with Milton's, asked me a bunch of questions about what it means to take advantage of every moment that you can. We spend a good amount of time talking about relationships, about how to navigate relationships, and to look at our own marriages in terms of what, when, and how. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Milton Herring.
Welcome. This is an audio experience with Maximizing Moments with Milton.
All right, are you ready? I am ready. Okay, here we go. If you're ready, I am ready to rock and roll.
Hey, Maximizers, thanks for joining me on this 2-on-1 episode with my good friend Tony Meltenberger. I'm excited about this podcast because Tony is not only just a world-class person, but I'm just one of his biggest fans, and I'm excited to have him share some of his thoughts and insights about life, culture, and family, and a lot of things he has on his heart to share. Just a quick bio on him. So Tony is a pastor of Restoration Church in Centerville, Ohio. He's married to, it says my high school sweetheart, but I think you want to say your high school sweetheart. But he's married to his high school.
He could be yours too. I don't know.
He's married to his high school sweetheart, which is awesome. Karen, 16 years in February. That's awesome. Give him a round of applause, guys. He has 3 kids, 12, 8, and 6. He's the author of Unbreakable, Forging a Marriage of Content and Delight, and has a Master's of Divinity from United Theological Seminary. Coach for kids sports and avid Reds, Bengals, and Buckeyes fan.
Go Bucks. Go Bucks.
I think we can jump into some sports if sports talk here a little bit. But so Tony, give us some context on catching us up to. I know there's more to your backstory and your history as far as being a pastor, but in life and family. So just give us some more context about who Tony is.
Yeah, thanks, Milton. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I love your podcast. I love listening to all the world changers that you get to talk to. So I just really appreciate the opportunity. And for me, I grew up. I'm a native Daytonian, and Dayton's called the Gem City.
Okay.
It's because it sits right above the Queen City. It's the gem right on top of Cincinnati. So it's just north of Cincinnati. And grew up native Daytonian and immediately listed in the Army Reserves right out of high school and served 14 years as a chaplain's assistant in the Army Reserves, got to be deployed around the world in Kuwait and Germany, and I spent some time in El Salvador, and then I went to some really exotic places like Minnesota. And
you're like, woo!
Yeah, got to do all sorts of things for the Army. And that's where kind of my spirit was ignited for this desire to see people be in healthy relationships. And as I started to go down that road of healthy relationships, looking at what does it take to have healthy relationships, eventually what I kept coming back to is that from my research, I wasn't sure if it was possible if you could do it without God. If you didn't have that kind of evidence. So that's kind of how I led to this kind of pastoral calling, was examining what it took to to figure out how to be in healthy relationships. It's a lot like a 12-step program, is that you need that higher power to surrender that you're not in control.
Right.
And I find that to be true in my relationships, and most of the people I talk to end up in the same spot too. So I eventually made my way into pastoral ministry at a larger church in North Dayton, and I was there for 4 years. And while I was there, I kind of caught on fire. I was a late learner in life. And so I finished my bachelor's degree while I was serving at that church and immediately started my master's program. And then the denomination I'm a part of with United Methodism, they deemed it an opportunity for a young leader to go to Centerville, Ohio, and that was 4 years ago. So since coming to Centerville, God has just continued to do some crazy cool things. And I'm still trying to learn and figure stuff out. So that's kind of...
And in that journey, Tony, when did you meet your bride? You said high school, but when did you guys decide to, okay, let's do this. Let's get married.
Well, I mean, we were a very wise 22 when we got married.
Wise 22.
Very wise 22. No, so here's the deal. Actually, I thought God might have been calling me into the priesthood while I was in high school.
Oh.
And
okay.
I went to a Catholic high school. I was meeting with this Catholic priest who was a great guy. He was a mentor to me, and I was thinking about becoming a Catholic priest because I felt this call, right? And I'm walking down this path, and then I'm in this youth group, and this girl across the circle in the youth group, she was just amazing. I mean, she just had this kind of spirit about her, and we got close. We started talking, and I just never stopped talking to her. So then I went to basic training for the reserves right after high school, and we wrote letters back and forth. And then in 2000, the Army offered me a 6-month mobilization to Germany, and we really had to learn how to communicate. And when I got back from Germany, I had a little extra Army money, and I put that aside. I said, I'm gonna marry that woman. And so we got married in 2003, and then in the infinite wisdom of the Army, I was deployed in 2004.
Infinite wisdom.
If you want to know how to survive your first 2 years of marriage,
don't be around.
One way is to leave.
So you're telling me you maximized the moment when you were in high school. You're like, okay, here's my moment. There she is. Let me pursue this thing.
I just, I do think that there are moments that you have the opportunity to just decide if you're going to stay on the bench or you're going to get in the game. And I saw the moment, and it was a dance. It was a kind of like a school dance, and I took it. Yeah. And I'm still dancing with her, and I love every minute of it.
Awesome. So Tony, staying on the theme of healthy relationships, what is your theology philosophy now when it comes to having a healthy relationship and how to maintain, and also vice versa? What is it when people don't have God in their life? How do people survive and create a healthy relationship?
So I have long believed that people don't fall in and out of love, they fall in and out of commitment. And let me expound on that a little bit. So love is a feeling, and feelings will betray you. Feelings don't get a lot of things done, but commitment gets a ton of stuff done. Truth. And what I believe is that people fall out of commitment to the disciplines of being married.
That's good.
And so when you look at healthy marriages, these are the people that are talking together every day. They have some sort of common values and morals. They're aligned in some sort of thought process or theology, whether that be God or something else. They have this long-term vision about what it means to be successful. What does successful marriage look like? And they have enough self-awareness to know where their faults are in the relationship.
That's good. So there's in the moment of marriage, there's patterns that exist, and you're talking about the commitment of the commitment pattern is, like you said, do those things talk to each other. Hopefully you talk, right? You communicate,
Right.
you share. You share the good times, you share when you don't feel so good. And you're willing to, I think, I won't say compromise, but you're willing to give. And compromise might be one of those things, but you're willing to give more so than just take. And that's
Well,
so
let
true.
me even say it a step further. Let me say it a step further. When you and your spouse decide you're on the same team, it's not compromising, it's winning for the team.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's true. Because when I play sports, I should know this thing. Yeah.
Well, so the thing is like so many marriages that I talk to get in this place where if I win, she has to lose. No, you're on the same team.
Yeah, that's good.
You've always been on the same team. That's what this is all about.
Right.
Now, it may not be clear about what the end zone looks like.
Yeah, you're like, we're not scoring, but we're on the same team.
So that's where I try to draw couples back. What does a victory look like for you guys as a family?
Yeah.
As a couple, as your, what's your victory look like for your kids?
That's awesome.
You get clear on that. Everybody's moving in the same direction. Changes everything.
Right. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool. On the marriage talk, your book, Forging a Marriage of Content and Delight. Tell me about tell me about that topic, and how'd you get that book title? Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, so it came off this idea of what does it mean to have an unbreakable marriage, forging this idea of contentment, and like everybody's striving for happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we could just strive for happy? And what does that picture of love look like? And so the gentleman that I wrote the book with, his name is Charles Causey, and he did his doctoral ministry research on our book. Kind of, we had put this idea together, and it's a triangle of these different levels of what does God's love look like practiced in marriage. So it starts with the base layer is commitment, and then the peak is sacrifice. And along the way, you have things like honesty, respect, communication, and those are the things that good marriages are built on, and that's love put into practice. That's not the feeling of love, that's the action of love.
Gotcha.
That's not infatuation, as some of the psychologists would call it. Because when you meet somebody and you're like, oh man,
yeah,
she's all that in a box of bugles.
Right. He's in no bag of shit.
She's better than a bag of shit. A box of bugles. If that's dopamine running through your brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's a chemical reaction that you're having, and it's stronger than cocaine. And it's so strong that the problem is that it won't last.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It won't last. And then, so the whole way we're kind of designed, if you look at it just in the science part of it, is we're designed to meet, we're designed to have that initial reaction of dopamine, which surges through our body. And that's to get us past the part that I may strike out. Like, it's really designed to push you to a place. It's designed to push you to a place where you're willing to do something you would never do. And if you don't believe me, go talk to an 18-year-old male and ask them what they would do for a girl.
Oh, man.
We've seen it. We've all
done
seen it, right? So then now follow the body's track on this. If you do the work and you want to get married, you decide you're going to marry this girl or guy, and you get married, and then all of a sudden you do the intimate part of marriage, you have sex, then what happens is these oxytocins, most of us have heard of them before, they're bonding chemicals. They're designed to bond us together physically. And so oxytocins are released. Now, here's what happens, though, with a lot of society and what we're facing now is that we have had sex with so many different people before we get to marriage. We're literally trying to bond with so many people, so we lose the power of bonding. And the best imagery that I could give for you on this is a piece of duct tape. So if you take out a piece of duct tape and you roll it out and you think of it that's the way the oxytocins in your body work, and then you go up and you stick it and rip it off of 5 different people.
You got all kind of – never mind. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's
and
nasty.
By the time you get to the 6th person, you ain't going to stick.
Oh,
Now, but if you take two pieces of duct tape that have never touched anything else and you put them against each other,
Oh yeah, solid bond.
go ahead and try rip those apart.
Yeah.
You're not going to. And it's the way that our brain is wired to work. Our brain is designed to bond. It's the same reason that the Army uses silhouettes to for firing practice. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to turn off the mechanism in your brain that says this isn't normal. And so instead, we're just gonna treat every person like a silhouette. I'm taking away the face. I'm treating it like the silhouette. We're turning off the mechanism that says, hey, we shouldn't do this. This is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a physiological response.
Pointing a weapon at someone is you're like, okay, wait.
But if you've trained on a silhouette for years, then when you go to that situation and you're got to point your weapon at someone, hopefully your brain will just see a silhouette.
That's interesting. That's a great analogy. I love the duct tape piece of it. Nobody wants to have some duct tape rip off of them. So, yeah.
I mean, it's real.
It is real. And how would you back that up with delighting in your spouse, or how do you delight in your spouse?
Well, see, I think that goes back to the same idea about this common vision.
Okay.
So if you get to this place where you and your spouse are both working towards the same thing, then you can look over and see something that is just so incredible and know that it's a game changer. So for us, one of our long-term visions is to own a lake home with a wraparound porch.
Yes, sir.
And we want to see our grandkids are playing in the front yard and share our faith and our family in this kind of sacred space. And so when I see my wife leaning into my kids' faith, that is an incredible source of joy and delightment for me. Because I know that what she's doing now is going to impact our grandkids. That woman loves me so much. She's working for my grandkids.
Right.
I mean, it just jacks me up, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's super exciting because I know where she's going. I know that when she goes off to work, that she's working for our retirement, just like I'm working for our retirement, that we both have this vision and mission and call. And when you can remember that there's a bigger picture than this idea that the whole world is out to get you, then you have no choice but to delight in your spouse.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Right. Love that. I love that. Don't be a victim, be a victor, right? That's I love that. So when it comes to, and I'm enjoying this so far when it comes to relationships, and I think relationships are probably one of the pillars and cornerstones of a successful life, and truly maximize the moments in our life, and healthy relationships at that. So if you were to coach me right now, Tony, and I'm in a relationship that's very toxic, I feel like there are times when there might be a bright spot, but there's a lot of bad stuff. How would you coach me? And I know it may be a little bit different, but based on where you're at right now and what you've gone through and what you have, how would you coach me to pursue that relationship or get out of that relationship?
So I believe that the best relationships are built around boundaries and expectations. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite sayings is that failed expectations lead to bitterness and disappointment. And one of the things that we should be doing is if we're really on the same team and we're going for the same place and we have the same vision and this person really loves you, then you should be able to raise the bar on your expectations and put a boundary around it. So it would look like this. If let's say that your spouse or your significant other, maybe they're not a spouse yet, your significant other can't seem to get home on time and doesn't tell you when they're going to show up late, or they go to the bar after work and you've talked about it and it's just feels rude and inconsiderate. So it starts first with an open and honest dialogue. Hey, I'm feeling. If you use an I feel statement, you can never be wrong. So if you maximize the moment and use an I feel statement, I'm feeling disrespected because I'm not getting a call, and because of that, I feel like you don't care, and I believe that you care.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see happen is that you call before you go to the bar and let me know that you're going. And if you don't call, then I'm not sure that this is going to work. And if you can set it that clearly, it's going to be great. But obviously in dialogue, it's going to flush out like, because the first time it's going to happen, say, well, I'm out of habit, right?
Right.
You'll say, I've never done that before, or you're trying to smother me, and so then you repeat back using just good reflective listening what you heard, and say something like, so what I hear you saying is you feel like you can't do that. So then you can ask the next logical question, which every person's thinking. So is the bar more important than me?
Right. I love that.
And somewhere along the way, in reflective listening and asking good questions, you're going to get really clear about where the priorities are. And there's no way to hide someone else's bad priorities.
That's good.
So boundaries and expectations, if you can manage both of those, it helps. And I always tell couples, don't do it when you're mad. Having the conversation around what good boundaries are is never a good idea when you're all fired up.
Right.
Because it's not going to be realistic. But if you can come at this in a business meeting kind of sense, when you're calm, you're collected, when you're thinking about it, and certainly one of my golden rules is never have a conversation with somebody who's on drugs or alcohol, never have a conversation when there's not enough time. Create an environment. Like you talk about maximizing moments a lot. What I think is that sometimes the best moments that we can maximize are ones that we set up. Be intentional about setting up that moment so that you can have a real conversation and get real results. Don't waste an opportunity to have a heartfelt conversation because you weren't prepared.
Right. That's beautiful. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Maximizers, I know there's people out there that do have health relationship challenges, and having a health relationship is probably one of your number one priorities for 2019 and beyond. And I think what we're hearing from Tony right now is key when it comes to creating boundaries and raising the bar in relationships, and really, you said maximize the moments and creating those opportunities for you to really utilize the moments that are needed to have those deep and delicate conversations that will improve the life and course for everyone, and number one, including yourself. But you'll be surprised what a health relationship will do for you when it comes to not only your finances but your health and general health as well. So, and your spiritual life and emotional life. There's a lot of things that go into having a health relationship. So, thanks, Tony, for sharing that. And I know we can talk a whole lot more, and I want to get to our maximizing moment questions. If you're ready for those, I'm surely ready to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right. So my first question, Tony, is give me your favorite quote and explain why and how it helps you.
Oh, my favorite quote comes from a really bad movie, but it is the juice worth the squeeze?
Ooh. Oh, okay.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? Meaning, is what you're going to get out of this situation worth the pain it's going to put you under? And it's from an old movie called The Girl Next Door, and the movie's horrible. I don't recommend the movie, but the quote has changed my life. Because it gives me an opportunity to use it as a filter in every situation that I run up against. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the pain that what I'm about to do worth what I'm going to get out of it?
That is wonderful. Love that. Next one, firing at you. Give me a moment where, when looking back, you let slip away and it impacted your life at some level.
When I was deployed in 2004, I re-enlisted, and the Army gave me a re-enlistment bonus of $15,000. My wife and I had no idea about financial theology, and we bought windows with it. $15,000. We could have done so many smarter things with that, but we were young and dumb, and we had no financial theology, so I just completely let it slip away.
I love that quick to the point. Handle your money, guys.
And develop a philosophy or theology on money, what you want to do with it, what's important. Again, like we just didn't know. So we're like, oh, we need new windows. Let's get new windows on an investment we're never going to get back.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
I'm glad I think so.
I was just smiling like, oh boy, yeah. I have a couple of those too. Next question for you, Tony. Have you ever had a time where you knew there was more for you to do in life or accomplish, but were in a position or job, a career that didn't quite line up with that? How did you maximize that moment?
Yeah, I worked for a nonprofit that was doing personal growth seminars, and they were very good at what they did. But I knew pretty early on that I needed something more than that. So I'm a big extrovert, relational guy. So I immediately started going to my kind of I call it the council of the godly is the term that I like to use. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of the men and women in my life who give me wisdom. Now they don't know that they're on the council. But in my head, it's kind of this checklist of people. What would this person say? What would that person say? And so when I'm in a bad spot, I go to the council of the godly, and these are people who align with my faith and beliefs, and I listen to their wisdom because I believe that they have some.
Awesome. Next question for you, Tony. Do you have a story of a time when maximize the moment was important or meaningful to you?
Well, I think an opportunity to really to get this book published back we started writing it in 2012, and a friend of mine gave me the contact information to this editor at Abington Press, and I didn't know who she was and she didn't know who I was, and so I had to call her up and basically cold call the whole thing and try to work this relationship so that maybe someday this dream of writing a book would come into fruition. And I think by God's grace and a little bit of luck, we got there.
There you go, a little bit of luck. Go through it. That's
I'm
good.
just saying.
Now, I'm curious about this question from you, Tony. How would you define a maximizing moment?
A maximizing moment, I would say, is where you step out of your comfort zone and use everything that you have to do something you wouldn't normally do.
The uncommon life, stepping out of the comfort zone, doing something you normally wouldn't do. Awesome. Thank you. And my maximizers for the last question for you, Tony, are all about actionable steps. And so if you were to give me 3 immediate action steps to take for a person to maximize the defined moment in their life, what would that be?
The first thing I would tell you is say yes more than you say no. Say yes more than you say no. Write down what you want in terms of whether that be a family vision, a personal vision, strategic goals for the year, all that kind of thing. And then the third one is that take time in intentional stillness. Couple minutes a day. I think sometimes we spend so much time going after what we want, we never calm down enough to think about what we have. And when you think about what you have, you'll see more moments that you can maximize. Because most of the time we're trying to set up this perfect moment when the reality is you probably had 20 of them today that you just didn't even see.
Love it. Say yes more than no. Write down what you want and take the time to be still. Did I miss anything?
No, you killed it. That's
awesome,
great.
Man. Maximizers, take those notes. Truly. I feel like there's a theme of the people that I've interviewed recently. It's about writing down or putting pictures up the things that you want and desire. I think that's a success principle that really crosses the lines of everyone, whether it is health, relationships, or finances, or health. I think you can utilize the writing down aspect and painting a picture on a lot of different arenas. And so thanks for sharing that, Tony, my friend. And if I give you a couple minutes, are there any parting words you'd like to share with the audience or comments?
Well, I mean, first of all, just thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. And I would just encourage everyone to 2019, it's still early in the year. Think about what you want and don't be afraid to go after it. The world is changing so rapidly. What a gift that we get to be a part of a place that is changing so fast, and we can change fast. People tell me all the time that they don't like change, and my response is generally the same thing. It's because you don't practice it enough.
Love that. Love that. So much to do. Thank you, Tony. Love it, love it, love it. How can the Maximizers find you? Is there anything you're promoting, book, website, videos, etc.? Anything we can do to support you in that level?
Well, I do have a website, twmilt.com, and I blog up there, but I also do a podcast called the Reclamation Podcast, where we share good practices for faith and life. So there's always content there. You can always hit me up on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook at twmilt, M-I-L-T.
Wonderful. Let's do it, guys. Awesome. I'm so excited about this podcast. Tony, you've been great today. Really, guys, Maximizers, these podcasts, anytime we do them, the people that we have on give it their time, their energy, and their resources to help you maximize any given moment in your life towards success. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media streams. And as always, God bless you.